Hi everybody, this is Claudia and I'm here with Dee Gardner. And we've been talking in the last, this whole year we've been talking about narcissism and different topics related to that. And today we started thinking with the Safe and Sexy event that we're both a part of this weekend, let's talk about women's sexuality or sexuality and how that works with narcissism. So we thought that would be really fun. Okay.
And just so you'll know, we're recording this as well. So do you want to tell them you were going to play it again on Thursday for the professional talk about narcissism, the lunch talk?
Yeah, so we've been doing a live stream every Thursday at lunchtime, and given scheduling conflicts this week, we're not actually going to be able to meet up at that time, both of us anyway. So what we're going to do instead is I'm going ahead and doing the live stream now, because that's what I know how to do, and I will repost it again on Thursday at lunch. So tune in again if you want to listen to that, and I'll be monitoring it. So if you do have questions, then you can go ahead and I'll answer those at that time. So I'm excited about it. All right. Yes. So talking about women's sexuality, hey JJ. Talking about women's sexuality and talking about narcissism at the end. So we're going to start off talking about, what is sexuality? So take it away.
Yes. Okay. Well, what is sexuality? First of all, what I'm going to talk about is intimacy.
Oh, yes.
Intimacy. One of the things Claudia and I were discussing was sexuality, and I said, well, there is unhealthy sexuality and there's healthy sexuality. There is sexual intensity and there is sexual intimacy. And so there's a difference. I know you're familiar with, probably over the years, definition of intimacy itself. How would you describe intimacy?
I would say
just what you've learned.
Intimacy is the ability to feel safe to reveal who you really are. So that's your strengths, which everybody loves showing off their strengths, but those kind of soft parts that are vulnerable, maybe the things that you don't feel confident in, or when you have a bad day, and being able to express that authentically. And you're not going to do that with just a total stranger. You're going to do that with someone that you feel close to, whoever that is, whether it's a friendship or a close personal relationship, or whatever that is, or family, maybe certain family members.
Yeah. You're going to be, with intimacy, we're going to be vulnerable. We're willing to be open. We're willing to, it's like, in the world, kind of like when you're going through your day, you have a mask on. You have a job mask on. You have a certain mask on with certain people. Acquaintance, you're going to be so open and honest. And then with people that you're really close friends with, you're going to be so open. And then even others, you're going to be even more open. With an intimate partner or a romantic partner, you're going to be even more open. So there's different levels of intimacy. We have this mask on, and are we going to let it down? And how close are we going to let the person see as far as who we really are? So there are different types of intimacies. There is emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy. There is physical intimacy. There's even spiritual intimacy and sexual intimacy. And so there are different types of intimacies. So without that, the emotional intimacy, which is emotional safety, it's okay for me to be vulnerable. It's okay for me to experience whatever it is I feel. It's okay for me to feel sad, angry, and express it without feeling like I'm going to be rejected, when I'm going to be I'm going to be put down. You shouldn't feel like that. Or you shouldn't feel like that.
So the discounting and
it's okay for me to feel what I feel. So when someone says you shouldn't feel like that, that's violating your emotional boundary, and you're not going to feel very comfortable expressing that feeling anymore around that person or demonstrating. I mean, think about the little 5-year-old, your little 2-year-old says, "I hate you, mommy." Right? You're learning. It's okay for me to be angry. About if someone says, you hate me, I'll give you something to hate me about. You mad? What do you mean you angry? I'll show you angry. Well, what is that communicating
that
emotionally?
It's not safe to say.
It's not okay to say that.
Right.
It's not okay to feel that. So when we tell someone I'm hurt, I'm scared, and then they don't respond in a supportive way, then we're gonna start putting a wall up. And that's what we mean by intimacy. That's emotional. The emotions aren't safe. They said you shouldn't be mad at that, and then eventually we're like, I shouldn't be upset about that. I shouldn't be upset about it. But you are.
Right, you're denying.
You know,
you're denying
I shouldn't
the
be hurt
reality
by
of
that, but
emotions.
you are. I shouldn't be sad over something so silly, but you are. And that sadness and that hurt is not going to go away just because we said I shouldn't feel like that.
That's true.
So that's what we mean by emotional intimacy. Intellectual intimacy is when someone, I'm bringing all this up because all of this ties into sexual intimacy.
This one was a big one when I learned about the intellectual.
The intellectual. What's your understanding?
I'd rather. You go ahead and do it because I don't want to.
Intellectual intimacy
really clear.
is when it's about our thoughts. It's about what we think. It's about our like if I say I don't think that should go like that. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I agree with that. And if the response is, how could you think something like that? That's so stupid. Using the word stupid. That's a trigger for people. You don't know any better than that. You know, those types of things. Is that what you thought? I thought you were smarter than that. I thought you knew better than that. So what that's doing is telling you that, what does that communicate? Someone says,
that's denying who you are, your thought process.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
They're attacking your thought process.
Because that's, I feel, I love the marketplace of ideas. That's just something I've always enjoyed in all aspects of my life, to I dissect ideas. And for it to be safe enough to dissect your ideas, you need to be able to say whatever, you're brainstorming and you say whatever it is, but if someone's going to come back and say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, you're not going to want to share.
Yeah. And if you're around a person like, the series that we're working on is Narcissism. So if you're around a narcissist,
they will definitely let you know.
And if you get at the beginning, let's say you're dating, early on at the beginning, it might be, they didn't say anything.
They didn't say anything. So you thought,
they didn't say, that's a good idea. Or they might fake that at first. But sometimes they just may
so maybe it's like you went shopping and you chose, I don't know, anything, but a particular type of cheese. And you chose Kraft cheese or Velveeta cheese. And they're like, and you're thinking, and then you start questioning whether or not that's the right cheese.
Yeah. And then if you do inquire if this is a good, especially a covert narcissist, you don't like this kind of cheese? You don't like this kind of cheese?
And then, then it turns into a thing, and then over time it's like, well, you have no taste in cheese.
You have no taste.
It's like
you don't even know how to pick cheese.
You don't know how to pick cheese. Yeah.
You don't even know how to do this. You don't even know how to.
Or something with a bigger name than Velveeta. I'm not saying anything bad about Velveeta if you like it. But.
Yeah, so intimacy is the person attacks your intellect. The person discounts, demeans, do not support your intellect. Even as a child, if a child goes to a parent and they say, Mommy, look what I made, and let's say maybe 8 years old, and the parent looks at it,
or something,
and it's a drawing or something, or if it's let's say they got a grade on it, they have a grade on it, and if the parent looks at it and they say, you see, we're gonna say report card, you made all A's and 1 B, but if the parent says something like, what happened right there with that B? What happened with that? What do you think that's communicating?
That all of those A's did not matter, and the only thing and you're completely judged on performance.
You're judged on performance, not good enough.
And you're not good enough.
I gotta work harder.
So just to clean that up really quick, because that feels terrible to me.
Okay, go ahead.
So what would you say when your kid gets all A's and then,
that's
that 1
great.
B? So
that's
you just
awesome.
So that's all? But what about that B?
They didn't do it. Perfection has to be okay. I mean, lack of perfection has to be okay.
Okay.
It has to be okay to not make all A's, rather than you're not applying yourself. It has to be okay to not make all A's.
So the shame,
it just has to be okay.
Okay. So it's more important.
Yeah, they're excited about it. And even at that moment, just enjoy the moment. enjoy the moment, elevate in the moment. Perhaps something it can come up some other time that there's a conversation, but that it has to be okay.
So in the moment when your child comes up and they're like, "Oh, I'm so excited! I have
Yes.
this report card. It's all A's and one B."
Mm-hmm.
You get excited with them
Right.
and reward
Get
them
excited
and all
with
of that.
them.
And
Because
then later on, maybe address the topic
if
that
there's a
had
problem
B,
somewhere
where it's like,
along the
you know, whatever topic it was, like, "Hey, do
Right.
you want to work? Do you need extra help with that?" Or
maybe
something
later
like that.
something like that.
Where
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
associated. Okay, all right.
Right.
Thank
so,
you for that.
yes, yes. Because what happens is that child becomes an overachiever. I try, and they become a perfectionist, and they become maybe get involved in all these extra. This might be some of you that might be watching. They get involved in all these extracurricular activities. They have these high, unrealistic standards of perfection, and they will do well in all these activities as well. And then what happens is people around them in their environment have this expectation that they're going to do well. So you have people bragging about them, and they get rewarded for that. So in the meantime, you have this part. It's very much rewarded.
Okay.
And I never have to complain about such and such. Oh, you always do a good job.
Right.
What do you think about teacher's pet? I don't know if you were one anyway. I was a teacher's
Yeah,
pet.
I was a teacher's
You know,
pet. It was
teacher's
great.
pets doesn't
It was
go over
great. I
well,
loved
though.
it.
But at the
loved
end of
it,
the
but
day, at the end of the day, you
you
know,
weren't really
it's-
making friends with
yeah, and
anyone
so
else. So.
you have that child. So you have that person growing up, not good enough. I gotta do more. I gotta do more. I gotta do more. So now, as an adult, they create this lifestyle where they have to work 6 days a week, 10-hour days, and then they say, "Well, I gotta pay the bills."
Right.
But when they're doing that, what are they not doing?
They're not. So that all came from not being intellectually.
If they're working 6 days a
they're
week,
not-
10
they're not
hours a
connecting
day,
with
they're
their
what are they
family.
not? Yeah,
They're
they're
not
not
with their
living.
family.
Yeah, in those other areas, family enjoying. A lot of times they can't relax on a vacation and things like that. So many narcissists are of some of this fabric here. The greater narcissists, the master level narcissists, they're of that fabric right there. The standards are way up here. They're very successful. They're usually overachievers. Oftentimes, they're leaders. People follow them, and that core shame, there's a core shame deep down that you might not see, you might not get to witness, but they know it's there. That's that little voice that says, "You're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not good enough." So it's like if there's this voice that says, "I'm not good enough," I need to push you down so that I can feel up. I need to one up you. So that's where the attacks comes, the criticism comes. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So
they
we're
have
going to
to
get to healthy sexuality.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah.
So that's intellectual intimacy.
So this is all the intimacy part. So we've got the
Yes.
emotional intimacy, we've got intellectual intimacy,
and physical.
which I found this to be very confusing. And you know, I was shocked when I first learned about that because I never thought about an intellectual intimacy with a person,
Yes.
and and different comments that might be said to you or you're saying that would compromise.
Yeah.
them. So that's two of them. What's the third one?
Another one is physical intimacy. Physical intimacy. Physical intimacy is how close are you with someone? How close are you allowing someone to be physically? How can I say it? How comfortable are you with someone being physically close to you?
Is it a fist bump? Is it a handshake? Is it a
depending on
hug?
the relationship?
What is it?
Depending on
All that kind of
context, how comfortable are you with that? So, so physical intimacy. So some people aren't comfortable with affection.
That's true.
Some people, let me straighten my up, excuse me. And some people are not comfortable with affection. Some people are not comfortable with touch, holding hands, hugging, and they're like, you know,
right? Yeah, that like,
yeah.
And there's people like that.
Some of them they have friends or they have family members or they're in a setting and they know there are huggers there, for example.
And it's like, no, don't hug me.
Or they'll do it and they'll kind of like that when the people,
right,
and they're hugging them. So that's physical intimacy. It's non-sexual touch. Oftentimes, I'm a psychotherapist, and sometimes I hear people say, usually females, they'll say, he only touches me for one thing. He only touches touches me when he wants sex. He only touches me when, and so that alone, that's why I have a headache. I don't feel good. Comes in, and they're like, he. I know that, when he does. And so one of the things I do in therapy sometimes when we're working with sexuality with people, building a healthy sexual relationship, is the person needs to, the couple abstain from sex for a while until they can build these intimacies. They work on these other the emotional, intellectual, and the physical.
Non-sexual.
They've got to learn that. He's got to learn,
But when you put your hand on someone's shoulder, it doesn't mean that you're initiating sex.
Right.
We're
in the car. We're in church. We just do that, or we put our arm around them. We just touch their hand. If a person's love language, maybe we'll talk about love languages one day. If a person's love language is touch, and you're talking, here's a tidbit. If you're in a disagreement, you're in an argument, and some people, talking it out helps them feel better and reconnect and calm down. And now if we want to have sex, whatever, have sex.
Make up sex, right?
But for some people, their love language is touch. So you're talking and explaining and defending it, when what might just make that person melt is just a touch, kind of like that.
I'm still here
I
with
hear you. Sometimes the person, you're upset, you walk by them, they're sitting on the couch, you just touch and you keep going. That speaks volumes, and it helps you reconnect. And it's arousing. It could be arousing. So that's much better than, well, what happened was.
Right. It really a lot to get into the talking. So depending on the love language.
Physical intimacy. Do you have physical intimacy? Non-sexual touching. A way to connect physically without anything sexual in the vicinity. So that is what. Oops,
Here, let me switch that. Hold on.
I shouldn't have touched it. Is it still recording?
I am not sure. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Okay. We're recording on Facebook
at the same time,
and trying to wave, and
all that
I'm a
good
YouTube
stuff.
person and not as much of a live recording Facebook person. So
I'm having fun with all this. All right. Okay. And we'll get to Christopher. Hi, Otto. Hi, everybody. And we'll get to your question in just a minute. So just bear with us while we set down the foundation of intimacy, because the intimacy leads to understanding. The intimacy leads to the sexuality.
Right. So now we have emotions, intellectual, physical, and now sexual. So I tell couples early on when they're having lots of sexual issues or sexual addiction and things like that, mm-hmm. They abstain for sex for a while. They learn to connect at these other levels, because trust me, if a person isn't feeling emotionally safe and secure, mm-hmm. and connected, are intimate, they're mad at the person, they have a grudge at the person, they're resentful. Sexual intimacy is not gonna happen. Sexual intimacy and make-up sex is not the same thing.
FYI, for those people who need
sexual
to know.
Intimacy and make-up sex, which is sexual intensity, is not the same thing. Sexual make-up sex is using sex for a tool, using it as a tool rather than using it for connection. Sexual intimacy is that shared closeness. The walls are down, the mask is off, I'm vulnerable, I'm open, I'm
your
honest.
Body is open, you're everything about that.
Yes, sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
So sexual intimacy has what we call a component called sensuality.
Okay, tell us about that.
Sensuality, sensual. I cannot pronounce. I don't think my gap in my teeth causes me to not be able to say that word. Sensual.
It sounds fine. Sensual. So senses of the senses.
It's
right.
the five senses. So anyway, so sensuality. So what happens is when we're looking at healthy sexuality versus intensity, there's intensity. Sometimes, a couple say, well, oh, we have good sex. But what they usually have is intense sex, which doesn't necessarily mean connection. A lot of times you have someone that's going along with it. You have someone going along with it. So Anyways, usually you have two people, and one person's dry and stronger than the other. One person has I would say, who has the padlock on the sex? One of y'all have you're the one with the door. Who has the door on the sex? Which one? And the other one is saying it's not enough, and the other one is saying, "Oh God, I just wish they hope they finish." So, anyways,
it's either way.
Yeah. So,
being real,
healthy sexuality, sensuality. So you're not gonna have healthy sexuality without sensuality. What that means is using the 5 senses. We want to use all of who you are, the full embodiment of who you are when you're involved with healthy sexuality. If you really want to have that true, intimate sexual connection, you're going to use the taste, hearing, which means sound. So let's go with hearing, audio, music, words, flirting, being on the phone, flirting, certain noises, those things. All of that is a part of healthy sexuality. And then what's another sense? Smell. Sometimes I mean,
a cologne, a perfume. Their personal scent.
The personal. Everybody has their own personal, individual body scent. Also, aroma in the room. You're walking the room.
So vanilla or jasmine.
And
roses, whatever.
Yeah, I think there are. Or aromas that are supposed to be arousing.
Yes, there are.
There are aromas.
There are. I understand all about that.
Yeah.
We play with essential oils and we make different blends. So there are definitely blends that go right ahead.
Healthy sexuality. Sex is a spiritual experience.
Oh, that's very important to bring up.
It's the closest.
I think people don't think about
spiritual,
it.
That's the spiritual connect. That's the spiritual intimacy. It's a spiritual experience, and so what that means is that's the closest two individuals can get, especially if we're talking man and woman. That's the closest two individuals can get. So it's we look at it. You want to look at it as a very sacred action. It's a very sacred, precious action. It's like a little baby, a little vulnerable baby. Be careful.
Yeah, that's
safe.
Be safe with the baby.
Be safe. Be careful. And it's meant, to be something that honors. It's not meant to be used as a tool. If we're talking about two people, we're talking relationships. So if we're talking about two individuals here, we're talking about connection. And so if we're going to have a connection, if we're going to truly have a connection, and some of you all, if you're the type of person, you're like, I'm very, very healthy, I have a high sex drive and things like that, and this person doesn't. If in fact those 5 senses are operating and you have all those other intimacies, you are going to have sex.
There you
You're
go.
going to have
the key to good sex.
The key to good sex. You're going to have that person. So what's usually going on is if it's not physical, if there's not a medical problem, and actually a lot of those are oftentimes connected to a person's desire, the libido. If it's not if a physical condition is ruled out, then and it's psychological, then it's treatable. And
Absolutely.
so we're gonna talk about some signs of a person that is there needs to be what I call sexual confidence.
There we go. So going all into it about sexuality.
Confidence. Are we confident sexually? And so
ways of so she's got this great questionnaire here, and we were looking at it before we started this video, and it has over 60 questions. So we picked a couple of them that I thought would be really, or that we were thinking would really kind of touch upon.
And what I have right here is the title is will you be a sexually confident partner? But I have a note here. I want to touch on men and women. Men and women are different. We're wired differently, especially in this area. Because
we're
one
all
of the
aware.
when we're talking about the sensuality, for women to be turned on, then we're looking at women are more like ovens. There's a saying out there: women are like ovens, men are like the top of the gas.
The gas stove top. The stove top. Okay.
Turn it on. and that's it. That's about all it takes. For the female, and this is, I'm generalizing, this is majority. If there isn't some other issue going on, like some addiction of some sort, for women, it takes a while. For women, you've got to engage those other senses. And if you can engage the other senses, there's a saying that says a woman is making, she starts making love that morning when she leaves for work, and she's making love all day. It's up here. It's up here. And
so take note, men.
Yes,
yeah,
and
about
so you want her
oven to start warming in the morning.
Yeah, if you want her all over you, then it's gonna start all day. It's gonna start with, that's what the flowers are. It's like you hand the woman the flowers. Like, why are women so into these flowers and then they just die? You hand her the flowers. What's the first thing she does?
She smells them. She's engaging that smell.
And they're beautiful.
So she sees them. Yeah.
There you go.
So you got two things.
Yeah.
Two steps
So that's
then
kind of
you feed her some
and
chocolate.
then the chocolate.
You got taste going down. It's just here we go.
So anyway, so men and women are different. So we want you to know, for women, it's outside of most of it. Also, work for the woman is outside of the bedroom. It's outside of the bedroom, and then you will not have any problems inside of the bedroom.
Right there, you go.
So number one here. So these
going
are
back
signs
to this questionnaire.
This is feminine. But some of you men might be able to identify with this as well. But this is a handout I actually created for women, because they are the ones that tend to struggle with a lot of these things. I feel good about who I am as a sexual female. Do you feel good about who you are as a sexual person? Or does it kind of cringe? The people that struggle with that, if there's some sort of maybe some sort of trauma or sexual violation that took place a long time ago, if there was some sort of something unhealthy took place a long time ago, the sexual piece may not be comfortable.
It might feel dirty. Or
May feel dirty.
Have an idea that it's dirty or it's not.
As a sex therapist, one of the things we do when we're working with sex addicts, oftentimes a person is in a relationship. They may be in a 20-year marriage. They're in a committed primary relationship. But what happens is they become what we call anorexic in the primary relationship, and then addictive outside of the relationship. So outside of the relationship, the person is very, very active sexually outside of the primary relationship. So that could be another person. It could be a series of affairs. It could be a prostitution. It could be porn. Maybe not a person, but something like that. But they're very active outside things sexually in nature. And then because unconsciously there might be in their mind sex is dirty.
And
I see this with men sex addicts often.
Okay.
It's like, well, why aren't you? There's a lot of other things that's contributing to it. There is the female part in some of the sexual intimacy, lack of sexual intimacy. However, there is oftentimes this impression that it's dirty.
And so they don't want to do that with their primary
with the person that they love.
Okay.
So sometimes that's a big awareness for that partner when they hear their spouse says, well, when I was little, and here's I'm going to get a little graphical.
Okay,
here.
so pardon, not for the faint
When we're 11 years, let's say 11, 12 years old, that's when boys start masturbating. Self-pleasing.
Self-pleasing.
And so,
exploring their bodies.
Oftentimes, mom actually, let's say mom is usually a female that catch them. And then what is the reaction? What are you doing? Or here's another one. We grow up believing, don't look at porn, don't get porn, don't get porn. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. Sex is bad, sex is... So we call it sex. They grow up with a sex negative belief.
Okay.
A negative belief around, there's an association. So if you got this little boy that was doing something that was very normal for that age, around adolescence and puberty, and that person walks in and they make them feel bad about it. They feel embarrassed. They feel shame. Sometimes they don't. This is all new, and they don't know what's going on. So when they're
just exploring their body,
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, it's supposed to, well, these days it's different, but it's supposed to be new. And so this brain is still being wired. Their template, their sexual template, what they like, what they don't like, they're gonna enjoy, what they're not gonna enjoy. That's being formed. That's beginning to be formed around puberty. And so when that happens, they begin to connect sex with shame. Okay. They fuse together.
And then they wouldn't want to do that.
Embarrassment fuse together. Oh. Sex, bad, fuse together. This happens a lot in maybe sometimes a person from a religious standpoint. The belief around it is that it's sin. I'm not gonna discuss whether it's sin or not. But what I do know is in my practices, when someone has this negative mindset around sex, and if it was a sex negative belief in the family, then the child grows up thinking negative about sex. It doesn't mean they don't enjoy it. It just means their core belief around it, the core belief, the brain, the template says sex means trouble. Sex means you're going to get in trouble. So they go outside of the primary relationship. You're clean, you're pure, and I'm going to act out over here. That is oftentimes very unconscious, and that's what's uncovered in therapy. So that's the type of thing. So, number one, I feel good about who I am as a sexual female.
Or a sexual person.
A sexual person.
So that's both men.
Here's another one. I have no doubt that a future partner will find me sexually attractive. No doubt.
No doubt.
That a future
that's
partner
a lot of confidence
will
there.
Find me. That's confidence. Will find me sex. So we're not talking about size or anything. I have no doubt. I have no doubt that I'm going to be pleasing. I am comfortable inside my own skin and am not ashamed of who I see in the mirror.
That's tough for people.
Yeah.
I think that's really tough for women. I think women have a lot of body image issues.
A lot of body image
issues. Which, you've got these models and these things, and people talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
That you're not going to be 6 foot something, super thin model, and when you don't meet that, and you have curves, or you've had children, and it changes your body. You're not going to look necessarily the same. You may be comfortable. But I think men also have that too, that there's certain, I don't look,
They'll over-exercise in the gym. They will overdo it. They're always measuring up. And they will use sex, the notches on the belt. Okay. They will use sex to help bolster their self-esteem. The more women, the more man I am. It's about this. It's about... And to be honest,
story. Yeah.
Sex, the act of sex itself, honestly, and many of men are not, may not don't like hearing this. The act of sex itself is usually not that important to women. I mean, it's really not. Even the ones that says that they really enjoy it, and that even female sex addicts. The ones where there's a lot of men, and the ones that are very promiscuous, they are not having sex. The motives are usually different with men and women. The female motive is for control, validation, approval, attention. So she's like, I will pretend that I like you. I will pretend that there's an agreement. How does that saying go?
I will pretend that I enjoy
the sex. Contract. I will pretend that. Let me pretend I enjoy sex, and you pretend that you love me.
Oh wow, that's interesting. That's saying it very directly.
I will pretend that I enjoy sex, and that you pretend that you love and care about me.
There you go. In those kind of promiscuous situations,
yes,
is more prevalent in that, and that's from a woman's perspective. From a man's perspective, where are they coming from? Or how are they going to use sex in that?
They use it. They'll get the notches on the belt, the validation that they are a man.
Okay.
The validation that
So
they
both of them are getting
in
validation.
Both of them are getting validation. There's a level of control. I know
Okay,
with some of many of the sex addict men will say that, and these are people with hundreds of sexual partners over a year or so. A lot of times with that many people, they will still say that they're not doing it because of the sex. They are not doing it because of, and one of the things that certified sex addiction therapists, we tell people that, sex addiction doesn't have anything to do with sex.
That's really hard for people to hear.
It doesn't have anything to do with sex.
Yeah.
So oftentimes what we do is when we check out their arousal template, and I usually say at which point is the most exciting, and let's say money, they're trading sex for money, and they will say, it's when, some of them will say, it's when I see the money come out of the ATM machine. Some of them will say, it's when I'm on my way anticipating. It's the anticipation that this is going to happen that I'm really the most excited. And some of them will say it's afterward when I pull out a gift or money and hand it to the person. So what does that tell you? What do you think?
It's nothing about the sex.
It's nothing about the sex.
Nothing about the
It's
sex.
nothing about that. There's
So
a
it's about the
control there,
control.
and there's a power there.
Okay.
Power. Wonderful, powerful. So,
So we're going into those things, right?
Yeah.
Let's see what's the next one.
I believe I will experience sexual desire for my partner. I believe I will. What do you think about that one? I believe I will experience sexual desire for my partner.
The idea that someone would be having sex with someone who they don't have desire for is really interesting. The idea that why would you have sex with them at all?
Right.
If you don't desire them.
So confident is healthy sexuality is you will. You know you will. You're like, well, I will not get with someone that I'm not attracted to. I'm not going to have the sexual desire. We're going to have to figure out how to have I need to have a sexual desire for this other person. It's pretty
straightforward. Yeah. I guess this probably falls more for women.
More for women. I am comfortable if my partner wants to look at my body when I'm undressed.
Right.
I'm comfortable with that.
I think that's a big
How
deal
many times
for a
you
lot
keep the
of
lights
people.
off?
Right. There's a
Stay
lot
under
of
the
that
cover.
that you hear about that.
Yeah.
I've heard about that too. It's people who've never turned on the lights.
I'm comfortable with the shape of my body. Claudia was talking about body image. Are you comfortable with the shape of your body? I think I will be at ease, like when I actually sleep with this other person. I believe I'll
versus being tense,
or
being preoccupied, worried about something, worried about whether, just a lot of worry.
I will be comfortable with it.
Right.
It's annoying. I will be comfortable. Let's see, what's another one? I believe I'll be able to figure out what turns on my partner, and I'll be able to state what I like.
Both of those are very important, so that you're able to, and that goes back to that emotional intimacy, to be able to say, and intellectual intimacy. So you want to have
oh my God, I'll never do that. Well, here's the thing: if a person, this is something that is very controversial. Where you have the person that gained, let's say you have a female and she had babies and they've been married a while and she gained a lot of weight. And now he's like, well, I'm not attracted. I'm really not attracted to her. Now for her, there's an expectation of, that there's going to be some weight gain. There's going to be babies and things like that. But if we're looking at hundreds of pounds overweight, looking at well over obesity, we're looking at several hundred pounds, way overweight, then it is not, it's not
about,
when the person is it fair? And I'd love to see some comments on this. Is it fair?
When your partner's body changed so drastically, because you're not talking about just a little bit, adjustment.
Right.
Well, I guess 20 pounds, maybe 30 pounds, which is still enough, but it's still workable. But we're talking 150 pounds. If a person has changed that much in their body, is that going to be okay?
If you're with a partner and they say, and they are not aroused sexually, you can't manufacture, well, they need to be. Well, it is what it is. And these are some things that it's going to impact that area of your life. It's going to healthy sexuality is just not going to happen. And is it that other person's fault? Is it their fault thing? Is there what's going on with that? So there's
very
also
touchy, very touchy.
But there's also many couples that says, my wife. I've heard many men say my wife have gained a lot of more weight, and it's almost like I don't even see it. Do you know one thing behind that?
Okay.
The other intimacies. The other intimacies kind of blinds it. The person looks different when the other intimacies might be there.
So the emotional intimacy,
yes,
the intellectual
yes,
intimacy.
the value in one area is not as strong. That may not be as strong when we have the other intimacies.
Okay, that's interesting to know.
There. Yes.
And still probably go work out.
And on the other hand, yes, that's my message. Is it's not healthy. Is your size healthy? Do you need to do something about it? Is it true that you don't look really good and you're not? Are you being the best you?
We always are talking about that.
Be the best you. Go exercise. If you have to start off with 3 sit-ups a day or 3 push-ups a day or
walking for
10 minutes a day.
10 minutes, 15
you
minutes.
Start move.
Then start somewhere.
You do somewhere.
Absolutely.
You do something.
And that's not
diet.
And that's not just for sexual intimacy and health, but that's just for body health. That's for you loving yourself enough to take good care of the body that you have.
Yes. And serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine, and all that is released in the body, and it helps you feel better too. It makes you feel happier. Let's see, what's another one? What's one you want to bring up?
I think we started going to the other page.
Where are we on time?
I have no idea what
you
time it is. I did not pay attention where. No, I wouldn't.
Oh, it's not. It doesn't have a time.
No.
I think so.
The other couple of things is that we were talking about is when you come together with a partnership and you have disclosure of where who else, what else have you done sexually, and that becoming very hard to have a discussion with that.
Yeah,
so if they're sexually confident, I thought that was important also because I think there's a lot of judgment around people's sexual past.
And some of that is you learn depending on the person, depending on their maturity, depending on their mental health as far as what you disclose and what's important to disclose. What is important? What's the it goes back to what's the reason for that question? What's the reason for that question? What is that? What are you looking for with that question? I'm not saying that's a bad question or a good question, but there's usually more going on when someone asks a question like that.
To say,
how many people have you been with?
There you go.
There's something else underneath that question. What's going on with a question like that?
There you go.
And what is that information? What is that? What are some ideas?
What comes up for that is, are you going to feel emotionally safe enough to have that emotional intimacy to have that conversation?
To have that conversation.
What is I think that really talks about the intellectual intimacy that would be related to that as well. So you've got a lot of different, I think that one kind of goes across the board because the past is what it is. And so is that person going to use it to shame that person?
Yes.
Is that person going to use it against
the emotional
intimacy?
Yes. Yeah, that's why we make sure we got that down. It's like, I'm not going to bring up a topic that's going to hurt this person. And number 2, it's going to hurt our intimacy.
There you go.
And it's not going to bring us closer, and it's not going to bring connection. So deciding on what those topics are is why I'm such a big proponent of when people are going to get married, they do premarital counseling, do some sort of couples counseling. Be sure that you have intimacy taking place. And so, because some couples can talk about some topics and some couples it's not helpful. Sometimes a person has some sort of major sexual trauma in their past and they need to bring it up because it's going to impact. It's going to come up.
Yeah.
And so there might be something that they need to bring. There might be some sort of STD. There might be some sort of disease or something like that. They need to bring it If there is some sort of sexual addiction in their past, they might need to go to therapy, go to a certified sex addiction therapist, and do some work around that, and see what you're going to bring up, what you're going to disclose, and what you're not going to disclose. Because the content is it's a baby. Remember, we're talking about our newborn baby.
Such a
Sexual
strange
intimacy is this newborn little fragile baby that we want to be really careful with. It's a very, very sensitive situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've kind of talked a little bit about sexual confidence and being able to, and the different aspects that go into it, not just with, and how it plays out with the intimacy. So all of this to get to what we really want to talk about. What does a narcissist do with all of this?
Yes.
How do you engage, or how does a narcissist engage with another person from a sexual perspective?
When it comes, so if a person is in a relationship with a narcissist, if they're coupled with a narcissist, they're not. First of all, they need to accept that they're not going to have sexual intimacy.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
Because I know one of the questions was related to, jealousy in relation.
It's not going to. Is that the
Okay.
that you do it?
We were talking.
Can a woman's narcissism cause her to get jealous in the presence of other women? Absolutely. Narcissists feel certain things. Jealousy is one of the feelings.
What was the 5 feelings? Because I found that fascinating.
They only have certain feelings, and they feel rage, they feel anger, they feel fury, they feel jealousy, and they feel shame.
Right.
Yeah. And shame.
That's it.
So
jealousy is right.
Now, there's usually, like I said, when we have these issues, I talk a lot about heads and tails of the same coin. I talk about the narcissist being on one side of the coin and the other person, the narcissist abuse, being the other side of the coin. Heads and tails of the same coin. It's the same coin. That nickel is still a nickel. So you have the person over here that's jealous. Is the other side? Is there validity in it? There's a spectrum.
Is there maybe some emotional intimacy happening somewhere else that would have the person be a jealous person, and then you add narcissism on top of that, so now you've got a more explosive.
Right, because if we have a narcissist will use jealousy. A narcissist is jealous of everything, though.
Oh, that's a good point to say. So
when you think about it,
they're jealous. So
if it's not about them,
they're jealous about.
They're going to be jealous about anything. Yeah, because the narcissist, their self-esteem is so low. That's why healthy intimacy is just not going to happen anyways at any of those areas. The emotional, the intellectual, the physical. Not all deals are off when we're talking narcissism. It's just, and so if you're gonna be in a relationship with a narcissist, I tell people at some point, once you realize what you're dealing with, it's not healthy and it's not fair to the other person for you to expect something out of them that they're not able to give. There is a deficit here. There is a developmental deficit that did not take place. And so it's unfair to be on the other side of the coin constantly complaining about this narcissist acting like a narcissist.
So if they're jealous, that's one of the few emotions that they can feel. They're never going to get to a place of security. They're never going to get to a place of love. They're never going to be able to talk about their emotions as if they had more than 5.
Right.
They're not going to be able to respect your intellect, respect your ideas, and intellect, and have intellectual intimacy with you, because they'll always be cutting you down and trying to belittle you so that they can be in a one-up position.
Yeah,
and then the physical
pill to swallow.
That is a hard pill to swallow.
That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a tough reality. And also,
so does that mean that narcissists don't have sex with people or with their partners, or what does that mean?
The most that if a person decides, because if you're on heads and tails of the same coin, you're deciding to be on that coin. If a person decides to remain with the person, because if you go on the internet, if you go on YouTube, if you check with people and everything, they always say leave them, just leave them. Just leave. What do you
Well,
do? How do you deal with the narcissist? Leave
Leave
them.
them.
Because if you decide to remain with them, you've got to accept that that intimacy is not going to be there.
Ever.
You have to accept that they are going to have these triggers, and they are going to exhibit these behaviors, and that they're not. The most you do is preserve your sanity, which
That's
is
the
my
best
book.
you get. Right.
Which is going to take us to the book that I'm publishing this week.
Yes, her
So,
book is coming out on this week.
Narcissistic Abuse, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery, A Roadmap Back to Sanity by D. Gardner. Anyways, there's a plug.
There you go.
So the most they'll do is mimic, which is kind of bad news for some people. The most they're going to learn to do them is mimic. One of the things I'll tell a narcissist is I'll say, just stop pissing people off.
That's the best that you get.
Stop upsetting people. Stop lying to people. Stop going off on people. Close your mouth. But to think that you're gonna be able to say, how would you feel if someone did you like this, and they
don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right. That would be frustrating. That's seeking empathy, and empathy is the number one thing that they do not have.
They
They
can't meet
not
you
have. They cannot meet you at that
They don't have that
place.
They're going back to,
empathy.
Does it feel like shame? No. Does it feel like rage? No. Does it feel like fury? Does it feel fear and shame? Anger.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not any of
resentment,
those,
jealousy.
So if it's not one of those feelings,
it's not going to happen.
They're not going to know what you're talking about. They just literally don't know. Right.
So
you can't have that intimacy. You can't have that.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So I tell people, stop going to a dry well. There's no water in there, and we're looking down there, and they're saying, well, there used to be water. There was a little bit of water in there at the beginning. That was a stage, and that was a part of the targeting process, where they target and love on you.
That was fool's water.
Yeah, they're like, well, there's a little water down there. There's
that was
some
mirrored.
water. Like, no, it's
water
not there.
Mirrored from some other place that was a real
because
water.
The person's actions and history communicates clearly who they are. And help if the narcissist does go to therapy, which they usually don't, but if they do decide, there's usually some, I call it an external motivator, where they go to get help, maybe from a therapist. Then they're going to have to go a couple of times a week, probably a couple of hours each time they go. Like, let's say 2 hours a session, 2 hour sessions 3 times a week, just to get the behaviors down, just to get the insight. What they can do is get some insight of what's going on with them. But think about it. You can't make a person care about you, really.
And that's
you
not
can't
one
just
of their
make
feelings.
them empathize with you.
Yeah.
You can't just I've had people in front of me that says, I was working with a couple, and sometimes every once in a while a person will say, they want to talk to me alone, and they'll say, I really love my spouse, I really care about this, but I just really don't feel anything in here. There's nothing there, and I want it to be there. What do I do? I can't make it there. And this is after a year maybe of therapy. Some people, it's not in there, and you're not going to manufacture it. That ability.
So another hard truth there.
That ability is learned when you're this big.
As a baby.
Empathy is learned as a baby. Empathy. And up until like the age of 3 years old, you're learning how empathy looks. You're learning how empathy looks.
So what is that? How does that play out in a narcissist? With a narcissist, because all of this is like, leave a narcissist, the narcissist isn't going to have intimacy. But I'm sure that there are people in relationships with narcissists and they're having sex. So what's that about?
They're having sex. That's what they're doing. They're going through the act of sex. And the act of sex is not sexual intimacy. They're going through the act of sex. And so one of the things I tell the person with the narcissist is you can have some boundaries. You can have some boundaries around sex. You can say, I don't like to do this. I don't want to do this. If we're in a really, really bad fight, if we had a big blow up, I don't want to have sex afterward. I want us to talk about this. I want us to sit down, and I need you to listen to me. You don't have to agree with me, because they're probably not going to.
Okay.
You don't have to agree with me. I have one of the things I like about my book. I guess I do.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
I actually have phrases. I actually have lists in my book. I have lists. I have chapters of lists in my book on how to live with that person.
So when they say this, or when they say this, then you do this.
Yeah. So one of them is when you let the person know that it's okay for them to disagree with you. It's okay for them to not like what you say, but you would like them to listen to you. If they're not going to sit and listen to you, then you will leave the room, leave the conversation, whatever it is. It is not okay to yell at me when we're on the phone, or it's not okay to yell at me at all. If you yell at me, I'm going to leave the room. See, we're not negotiating here. We're not asking for their buy-in, really. I'm telling you what I'm going to do for myself. You do, but now the thing is, you put an envelope on that. You have to do it, and you stick to that. That's the relationship.
Right, and this is the narcissist and narcissist partner relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when we were talking about it before, narcissists tend to use sex as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
They use it a lot of times. A person that will manipulate a person. If you don't have sex with me, I'm going to. The narcissistic behaviors of demeaning, ignoring, shutting down, withdrawing, attacking, accusing. I'm going to do something. You're going to pay.
Okay.
You're going to pay. You're going to pay the price. And so the partner knows it. So they know I better do this. I better do this.
Well, that's not sexual intimacy at all. There you go.
Of course
right,
not.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
anyway, so that's a big education on. Go ahead and scroll. A big education. Yeah, a big education on sexuality today. And intimacy, I think, and how it is that you can, relatively normal people, can engage with each other and gauge, areas of improvement so that they can become more sexually confident and sexually secure.
Yes.
So that they can engage with others in a in a healthy way, on the multiple levels of intimacy. Yes. So that they can have sexual intimacy and we can all have great sex.
Yes. So you want to tell them about the weekend?
I really wanted to talk to you about this. We'd never actually talked about it in this way. And part of the reason why I wanted to do that was because this weekend we have an event. And I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. And it is part of the You Are Enough Fest series of events that the other Claudia and I have done. So Claudia Macias, la super comadre Claudia Macias, and me got together, the other Claudia, got together and we were talking about Brené Brown's work and how you are enough. And so we just started breaking it down and we decided that the topic for the spring was going to be sexuality. So this weekend, March 30th, from 2 to 5, we're inviting all women to come out and join us on our event. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be tea, there's going to be snacks, there's going to be some videos, there's going to be music, there's going to be different conversations that we're going to have. So we can really have an open forum for this. Dee, of course, will be here, so you'll be able to totally talk to her about the details of your sexuality, and she'll guide you through that so that you can understand make peace with that or understand it in a better way so that you can go in the direction of health.
We're going to have some pretty intense conversations about sex.
It's going to be super cool. And of course, she will also have her book, so come buy it. The other thing
it's an ebook.
It is an ebook.
You can buy it right now, actually.
There you go. There's links on your
website. My website is thecounselingservice.com, THE counselingservice.com, at Gardner Counseling Services.
There you go.
And our contact, both of our contact information can be, and we'll put them in the comments.
Is in there, yes, absolutely. And then the other thing that is, so then after that, I will do a wonderful meditation, so we'll all feel good afterwards. And then our keynote speaker is going to be a very interesting keynote speaker, and she is what we're calling her is an orgasm specialist. So she's going to bring a bunch of sex toys and talk about it. She's super, super fun. It's going to be light. It's going to be fun. There'll be lots of laughter. And you'll be able to buy them if you want. But we're going to have a fashion runway show related to these toys. And that's not the part that I'm a part of. So I am just super, super curious as to how that's going to work out. I invite you to come and check out with us. And so I will have a link to the event in this as well, and definitely come. And if you have any other questions, so we've been talking a lot about what it is, and underneath all of that, just like with this event, is really about loving yourself and having that self-confidence. Mm-hmm. And then that's why I love working with Dee. Mm-hmm. It's because we work really well together in, she kind of shines the light on all this stuff, and then I get to kind of clean it all up with a nice meditation, a nice hypnosis session, so you can leave feeling filled with confidence and understand and have more self-love. So, in all ways, not just the sexual ways, but in all ways. So, looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
Bye-bye. Bye.